Hey, here I am answering your questions as promised throughout the whole of term one on these weekly videos. So let's kick off with this question from Amanda, who says, my son has gradually dropped in grades since year 7 when he was mostly getting A's. By the end of year 9, he was mostly getting C's. I'm concerned about how year 10 is going to go and worried about his confidence and motivation, especially looking ahead to the senior years. I know this isn't really a question. So I guess my question is, do you have any thoughts or advice? Thanks, Amanda. Yes, I absolutely do. So the first thing to be aware of is that what will get students some great grades in year 7 and 8 are not the things that are required from them to get great grades in year 9 and beyond, which is one of the reasons why I say my 10-week grade transformation program is aimed at students from grades 9 to 12, because it's teaching them the skills and the cognition, so the cognitive level of skill up levels each year. And they go from describe and explain up to apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. Now, it's not always explicitly, in fact, I would say it's rarely explicitly shared with students in that way, which is why I love to explain it in that way, because a lot of the tasks and the requirements in year 7 and 8 can totally be met through lots of description of information, lots of information included like researched information. They can make those beautiful, research projects and inquiry reports, and they've got, their nice long list in their bibliography. And that will get them, and they can make it look beautiful and, add in some extras that weren't even asked for, and that gets credit. And that will get them some great results, which is what it sounds like your son has been doing through year 7 and 8. And then they get to year 9, and what is required, what is demanded from them changes. It up levels into those levels like analyze. Now that's a big difference. Lots of students aren't clear on the difference between explain and analyze. So if you were to ask your son, hey, look, like, what is the difference between explain and analyze? If they don't know, then that's a big alarm bell that that he's not up leveling, or he's not aware of the up leveling that is going on through those year groups and what is required from his work. Now, I go into this in a lot more detail in my free parent webinars, and I have one coming up on the 2nd of February. So we have a whole event week coming up for the open week, the enrollment for the 10-week grade transformation program. So enrollment is going to be open. So this is another question that I got a lot. I've had a lot of questions come in, and I will endeavor to answer as many as I can over the next few weeks. But what I'm going to do is we're going to have like this whole event week, because one of the questions was, when is the next 10-week program enrollment open? It's open from the 2nd to the 8th of February. And because I have had a lot of questions, and I know that people are going to have a lot more questions, in that event week, it's going to include, I'm going to have a free online parent webinar. That's going to be on the evening of the 2nd of February, Tuesday, the 2nd of February. That will kick off the opening of enrollment. And also through that week, I'm going to do a special live Q&A. So you can come on and ask me any questions you want about your team study, about the 10-week program, whatever you'd like. So absolutely, there'll be more opportunities to get your questions answered there as well. And in the webinar, I'm going to explain what these levels are, how they all fit together, what they look like with real questions that we see on exam papers and in students learning, so that you can see this in action. So definitely come along to that, Amanda, and anyone else who can see that this might be a sticking point for their team. Likewise, going really from year 10, I mean, you mentioned going from year 10 into those senior years, that's where we get a lot more of the evaluation level questions come through. So words, command words like to what extent. So you'll hear me talk a lot about command words. It's one of the biggest things I love to train students in explicitly. It's kind of subtly dripped in for students, but it's very rarely explicitly taught, and it makes all the difference. So be aware of these different levels of cognition. So sometimes they're called cognitive verbs. I call them command words as a blanket statement that occur in these different questions and tasks and assignments and essay titles. And is able to respond to those, and he has the help, because you're absolutely right. As we move up through those year levels, we want his motivation and his confidence to move up with them. And if his grades are dropping and he still feels like he's putting in that effort, there is that risk that that is going to start to wane. And like you say, we don't want that to drop off right before those senior years kick in. So if we can give him the skills and we can give him the awareness and we give him the how part of how to actually identify and then respond to those levels of cognition, then we'll absolutely get him back on track for sure. So thank you so much for your question, Amanda. Any questions that anyone has that they would like to send in and have me address on a future video, just send it to support@rocksolidstudy.com, and I will see you back here next week, and keep an eye on your inbox over this coming week for all of the juicy details about our open week coming up. See you then.